Have you ever wondered who designs all those attractions at the Disney theme parks? Well, in the new series Behind the Attraction, they detail the process and tell you about what's coming next. To learn more about the work, we talked with two Imagineers, Vanessa Hunt with the Archives Department and Mark LeVine with the Story Development Team. I am so jealous. I've always wanted to be an Imagineer. But do they have a crash course for you before you begin all this? You know all the things, or is it you learn as you go?
I would say you learn as you go. You come in with a knowledge base, right? You become an Imagineer because you're bringing something to the table. So I think the thing you bring in is going to be already of value to Imagineering if you've been brought into Imagineering. But then you'll learn more. And I continue to learn every time I'm with other of my colleagues. So,
yeah. Do you get to root around all the archives?
I do.
I know you do. You're the one.
That's your job.
Or is that not allowed?
We will let our Imagineers not necessarily root around in the physical archive, but everything's digitized, so they have access to that. And we do have cases where, maybe a current artist will be like, I want to come look at some of Herb Ryman's paintings up close to see how we put paint down on paper. And we'll definitely, let them come over and look at that artwork up close. Yeah.
When you do look at these things, do you say, this is an attraction that should have happened? Are there ones like that where you go, I wish we'd had this?
Not necessarily. I feel like anything that wasn't built for a reason or inspired something that was actually built. So no, nothing particular comes to mind.
Was there anything for you, Mark, that you said, I really liked that. I thought that was a great idea.
I mean, it's just part of the creative process, though, right? I mean, there's ideas that are sort of on an ongoing basis being worked on, or maybe they're going to be put on pause and we look at it and maybe look at it in a new way, in a new time. So I don't think it's ever quite like you just sort of laid it out. I think it's always an ongoing process.
How do these older attractions sit next to a newer attraction? I mean, certainly there's some that are kind of like you think, oh my God, this is so old school. And then you see the really state-of-the-art things. How does that happen? How is it possible that they can be in the same kind of airspace?
I mean, I'll quickly just jump to that to say, I mean, if you walk around Disneyland today, you can go buy things that were there when Walt personally directed its creation. And it holds up today as it did when it first came out, I would imagine. I wasn't there. And then there's Galaxy's Edge or something brand new right there in that same park. And I think the experience as a guest is you're being taken into these experiences, sometimes being fully immersed in a world like Galaxy's Edge or Haunted Mansion or Pirates, or just a simple round ride like Dumbo or just one of our teacups. And those, they all just work because we're giving you different experiences. And I think they work very well next to each other still.
I was in Shanghai Disneyland not too long ago, before the pandemic. And I noticed that all of the things had been kind of upgraded. Things that you saw that were kind of old school had a new twist to them. Is that the goal, to make everything a little more updated in every park? Or is it just, once it's there, it's there?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to this again. I think, I think each time there's a new project in either a brand new park or in an existing park, there's an opportunity to look at things in different ways. And I think if we're going to go into something that has existed, is there new things we want to do there from a storytelling standpoint, from a creative standpoint, from a technology standpoint? But again, a lot of our attractions have existed since the beginning and hold up very well. So there isn't sort of a across the board, we're just updating everything. It really just depends.
So some things could get upgraded. We could see some of the techniques that they use, for example, in Pirates of the Caribbean in Shanghai, could transfer over to one of the parks here, right?
I mean, again, it's an ongoing creative process. And when there's opportunities to look at things, we will. And, I think it's always a case-by-case basis of what we want to work on.
Vanessa, when you're in those archives, what are the things that you like most? Are there things you go, oh my God, this is the best?
Oh, everything. You know, there's about 70,000 pieces of physical original artwork back there. I'm rather fond of Dorothea Redmond is one of my favorite artists. So getting to see her watercolors up close is one of my favorite things to look at. I will say that. It's neat to see, you know, the pencil underline beneath the watercolor and how they build up paint and create their design, or where it goes off the edge of the paper and just gets kind of rough, or where it's a really tight design. It's really neat getting to see how different artists create their artwork and their style.
How do they know what to keep?
We try to keep everything. It all tells a story about how an idea develops or how an artist's process works. So we have a pencil sketch on a napkin, literally, in the collection, and we have fully rendered and finished giant paintings. So it's all important to keep because it all tells a story of the design of our attractions.
How big is the storage area? It must be huge.
It's pretty big. I'm not sure square footage wise how big it is, but it's a very large vault space with a lot of flat files.
Oh, it sounds like it'd be fun to visit, but I'm assuming, how often do the Imagineers get to come over? Whenever they want, or are you like bad cop and you say, no, you're not coming?
We're in a building with a library, a research library as well. So Imagineers are invited to come over and use that resource whenever they want. If they do venture back to see us and we're available and they want to come see some artwork, we'll definitely show it to them. We also try to do exhibits out in our gallery space throughout the year. So even when we're not available for a tour, we want to always have original artwork on display for our Imagineers to come and see and be inspired by.
Mark, how do you know what will go in what park? There are things that don't repeat, and there are things that are in, I think, almost every park. But there are things that are just kind of unique to one spot. Why is that?
Well, I think it depends, again, on that park, right? I think one of our castle parks has a far more flexible sort of approach to it, where there's a lot of different kinds of themes, different kinds of lands in that regard, where a park like Animal Kingdom has a more specific point of view, right? And so we want to make sure things really line up with the idea of that park. So I really it's park dependent. What is the project and where does it go?
But like the Indiana Jones ride, or
Right.
attraction, I should say.
Right.
Why doesn't that travel? That should be in another place.
I think just different opportunities in different places. And I think it's, again, you know, I think we like to, there's, you know, the Walt Disney Company has a lot of stories to tell and a lot of different kind of experiences that we want to bring to our guests that can be relevant for all. And I think really it's always creative opportunities, you know, for new things.
Well, if there's ever an opening for a fan, call me, because I'll be there for both of you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.